What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, and today we're going to be talking about a rare Nintendo failure, but I just want to warn you right up front, I actually have a giant cat on my lap. The Dreamcast cat, she just refuses to move today. She's just trying to chill out, so if you hear any purring into the mic, I apologize, but honestly, I don't want to kick her out. So today we're going to be talking about something that Nintendo did wrong, which is fascinating because in general, Nintendo is a very big and very profitable company. Even when they do some crazy experiments, usually they're a very overwhelming success. And that's part of the reason I'm fascinated personally by just how badly they're handling their whole mobile department. I mean, Nintendo is very good at game development. They make some of the best RPGs, they manage to make absolutely the best platformers, but what's funny is, when it comes to them trying to actually create cell phone games, they just don't understand it. Something about the language is just so different that they just can't do it right. Now, to me, this is a good thing. I'll be honest, I don't like cell phone games. I think that they are abysmal. But what's been unique is that Nintendo is stuck in a weird place. They love their home console market. That's what makes them, honestly, they're billions and billions of dollars. You may not know this, but what makes Nintendo very unique among the giant game companies is that they make hardware, but all their hardware is always a profit. Now, what that means is, whenever the Sony is trying to make a PlayStation 4, typically they're losing a little bit of money. Microsoft creating the Xbox 360, they're losing at least a couple dollars on every single console, which makes it where, why are you flopping around so much? You gonna calm down? It makes it where the way that they actually make their profit at the end of the day comes from game sales. Each and everything that sells off store shelves, basically they're paying a small licensing fee to Microsoft, and of course all their first-party games. Nintendo is different because they really do make profit on every side of the deal. I mean, when they sell a console, the console itself is created for as cheap as possible, and then the games are made for a budget with their internal teams. Oh, come on, go. And then when they make games, they're typically created by their internal teams on a low budget, and it makes it where everything Nintendo does is typically magic that turns to gold, and even if they do something dangerous or experimental, it normally leads to some form of profit. But not their cell phone division. So for the most part, their games just aren't working. Whenever that comes to them trying to make things on a handheld device, if it's not on the 3DS or the Nintendo Switch, people just don't seem as interested as they clearly intended. But today, we have a very direct example because some of the first sales numbers are coming out for Mario Kart Tour. This came out last month, and honestly, I hated it. I thought that it was a very crappy cash grab, but some people seem to enjoy it. But what's certainly interesting is even the people who managed to play it and have some fun, well, clearly they're not actually spending money, because now we have the profit numbers and they are abysmal. So I actually wrote them down here. Mario Kart Tour has now made $11 million worldwide. Now that seems like a big amount of money to you and I, because $11 million is more than we're ever going to have. But $11 million for a cell phone game is actually shockingly tiny, especially because this game had 90 million downloads. I decided to do some quick mental math, and I basically determined that with $11 million of sales and 90 million downloads, that means each and every person who tapped install spent about 12 cents. Not any more, not any less. 12 cents. This literally would have been more profitable if this had been the Mario Kart arcade game, because at least that is 25 cents a play. How crazy is it that we're in a generation where it seems like Nintendo wants to try and do this in a way that's very lucrative. Obviously, they are a people that are trying to get as much money in their piggy bank as possible, but they just don't know how to do it. So I think the biggest misstep they made is that Mario Kart Tour manages to sort of replicate the general idea of Mario Kart, and graphically it's pretty impressive, But it's not Mario Kart. You are paying for so much. There's randomized characters, randomized upgrades, randomized all sorts of stuff. There's a monthly fee if you want the best difficulty, which is 200cc, which in my opinion is completely antithetical to the entire concept of Mario Kart. I mean, the reason that this series has become so popular is because it's easy to understand, and honestly, it has so many unlocks. It's really fun to actually buy the next generation of Mario Kart and try and unlock characters and courses and see all the cool little unlockable stuff. Getting trophies and stuff, while this may seem like a little tiny deal, it actually feels great. It is a racing game where winning feels like a good reward, and that's why people play it even at parties. It is such a universal game, so trying to take this giant concept and cram it onto a cell phone has clearly fundamentally backfired. But what's really kind of curious is that other games have managed to be successful. Nintendo has actually been having a bunch of weird, very uneven successes when it comes to the mobile market. They've been doing this now for a couple of years, and it seems like they still just don't fully understand how to capitalize on their success. Keep in mind, they did have things like Mario Kart Run, huge amount of people played the trial version, not a lot of people spent money on it. And then Nintendo came out and admitted that they were actually very unhappy with the fact that Mario Kart Run kind of bombed. Then they decided to do a very much more mobile focused version of things like Fire Emblem with gacha characters and random loot boxes and stuff. This ended up being highly successful. But of course there's also the very exceptional cases like Pokemon Go. Now Pokemon Go, this is one that's brought up a lot in cell phone game talk, but what's interesting is Nintendo only takes a very small fraction of that profit. That's actually being made by a bunch of other studios who take a majority of the money. Nintendo just basically has their branding on it. So they're definitely making hundreds of millions of dollars off that, but other people are definitely making billions off it. I definitely think, if I had to theorize, right now, Nintendo is probably getting very frustrated because there's somebody who's very used to success. Pretty much anything that Nintendo has tried over the course of the last 30 years has been an overwhelming success. I mean, people are even playing a Ring Fit Adventure right now, something that basically looks like a hula hoop with Joy-Cons, and people say it's great because Nintendo has really found this interesting side market where it's like, okay, we can make the big games, your Zeldas, your Marios, these things, they manage to make giant mainstream profit. But we can do these side things that are really kind of strange to see, but still fun, and these will make a different amount of money. But now, when it comes to the cell phone market, they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to kind of juggle these different formats and different options. If I could give some advice, and this is very genuine, it's from the heart, Nintendo, give up. And I don't mean that in a mean way, I'm just saying, leave behind the mobile market. It's not very lucrative. It's honestly kind of a crapshoot. A lot of people that make these cell phone apps, it's just so random as to what is and is not actually successful. It's not your forte, and that's fine. There is a huge ocean of game development out there. You guys are doing so much right. You are doing so many big expansions and sequels. Do some big DLC for something like Mario Odyssey. Give us more kingdoms. That'll boost your bank account. I know everybody right now is extremely hyped for whatever the heck the next Breath of the Wild is going to be. You don't need to actually be taking your developers, putting them off in this room and saying, create the next giant cell phone game. Give us a Candy Crush. I just don't like the idea of Nintendo trying to capitalize on such a wonky market because it is outside their comfort realm. Now, if we're being honest, some game developers really have managed to capitalize on this. It's kind of impressive how much that PUBG Mobile has managed to completely explode, and now Call of Duty Mobile, and these are being made by typical, standard game developers who have entered the mobile space and kind of revolutionized it. But I just don't think that Nintendo games, they don't fit into that category. You need to be able to take the biggest idea and cram it into the smallest box. And in my opinion, a big reason why cell phone games so often fail is that they're dumbed down versions of what we like. If I am playing something like Doom, it's because I like that speed and the visceral feeling and the multiplayer. If they made a Doom cell phone game, I would not even install it because ripping and tearing with tiny little microtransactions, to me, is not quite at all the same experience. But still, I am kind of just sitting back and laughing. I probably shouldn't, but I like that Nintendo is not successful in this one department. I want them to make console games. I want them to make handheld games. I want them to stick with what they do best. Real, hardcore, mainstream Nintendo products. But what do you think? Are you somebody that actually thinks that this could be good in the long run, that maybe they'll manage to figure this all out eventually? Or are you like me and you think that this is all a big mess? Please give this video a like and tell my cat how cute she is in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please share with your friends and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. This might be the last rant of the week. I am going to be leaving for California soon to cover the BlizzCon protests and all that. So there will still be some videos, but I may randomly disappear. When that happens, I love you very much and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.